Publishers, I have a new idea for a contemporary series. It will follow three brothers as they heal and find love in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. There will be lovely scenery, there will be yummy food, there will be romance, and then I'm going to throw everyone a curveball by tacking on a fourth book to the series that makes no sense. Sincerely, Lisa Kleypas. Not really. Actually, my name's B, and welcome to my channel, Mama Needs to Read Romance, and take a few minutes to tell you about Lisa Kleypas' Friday Harbor series before my kids come back. Many of us know Lisa Kleypas as one of the best historical romance authors around, but today I wanted to talk to you about one of her two contemporary romance series, the Friday Harbor series. These four books are set in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. Think wet, green, beautiful scenery, mountains. It's on the coast, so there's a great deal of water. There's a vineyard. There's also delicious food. And of course, there's romance and healing that is done in the course of these four books. This series is fun because it contains magic in every single book. We would refer to this probably as magical realism because it's primarily realistic, but there are elements of magic woven throughout that make this extra fun. So how are we going to do this today? I wanted to make a resource that you would find helpful. Feel free to screenshot anything that seems helpful to you. I'll also have a great deal of this information in my description box for your perusal as well. I'm going to start off with just a quick explanation of how these books are related to one another, as well as my star rating and ones that I think you definitely need to read and maybe ones that you could skip. After that, if you want to do a further deep dive, I am including my reviews of each of these books that I gave during my end of month wrap-ups. So let's talk about the Nolan family tree and how that relates to these four books. Well, we have four siblings who are all overcoming the emotional abuse they went through as children. Their parents were both alcoholics and it was not a rosy upbringing. Each of them has a lot of healing to do, and unfortunately, the daughter of the Nolan family, Victoria, passes away before the first book even begins. Her daughter Holly has no parent left to care for her, so thankfully Victoria's brother Mark steps in, and Sam also comes to help. So the oldest brother Mark, his is the first book, Christmas Eve at Friday Harbor. It has a Christmas title, but it's actually more of a fall book, although it does end at Christmas. It's very sweet. Book 2 in the series is Sam's book. Book 3 in the series is brother Alex's book. And for some strange reason, book 4 in the series follows the best friend of the gal that ended up with Alex in the third book. I don't really understand why this book was even written. It's very different from the rest of the series. You could probably read each of these as a standalone because none of the characters spend a whole lot of time in the other characters' stories. If you think this might be a series for you, let's talk about the ones you definitely want to read versus the ones you might want to skip. I definitely recommend the first one, Christmas Eve at Friday Harbor. It's 5 stars from me. Definitely you'll want to read 2, Rainshadow Road, which I gave 4.5 stars. Also, you definitely need to read Dream Lake. You might want to skip Crystal Cove, however. I gave this 1 star. Well, that's a snapshot. If you'd like to learn more, stick around and you can hear my longer-winded reviews of each of these from my various monthly wrap-ups right now. First, let's start with Christmas Eve at Friday Harbor by Lisa Kleypas. It's book 1 of the Friday Harbor series. I was nervous about this, I'm going to be honest, because I really did not like her other contemporary series that I read, The Travises. I read the first 2 out of 4. I just really didn't like them at all. I was excited to try this because I love Lisa Kleypas, and then Whitney of Tiburon's Den and we were like, okay, let's buddy read this. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. It's short, it went by super, super fast, and I loved it. 5 stars, for sure, 5 stars. It ends in Christmas, but really this is a fall book. The Pacific Northwest that Lisa Kleypas writes was gorgeous. It was like its own character. I loved that. I loved the way she wrote the yummy food. And of course, I love the way she writes these 2 characters that are flawed, that are coming together. Our heroine is still getting over the grief of having lost her husband 2 years prior. And our hero, he is now in custody of his niece. He barely even knew her before, but Mark's sister passed away. There's no father in the picture. So now Mark is taking the little girl, Holly. Mark is trying to figure out what to do as like the new dad, basically. Holly writes this letter to Santa to try to have a family. And then there's Maggie, who is also on this island trying to start fresh, but she's just, kind of dead inside after having lost her husband. And these 3 come together. It is beautiful. They heal all the broken pieces in one another as they become a family. It was steamy. It was It wasn't very steamy, I'll tell you that. I'll be honest. There was a lot of chemistries and that was really fun. But in terms of the steam, I would say it's kind of lower on the end. But that was fine because really this book was so short. There wasn't a lot of time for a lot of steam. I know some people would already be turned off by that. But I really loved this. I thought the character development was gorgeous. And like I said, I really, really liked this book and I'm really excited. I'm just reading Rainshadow Road right now, the second book in the series, which I have a hardback of, a paperback, but I'm really enjoying that too. And it is like a soap opera. This series is really good, but it might be a little more women's fiction than just romance, but now I'm getting off on a tangent. Let me move into the next book I wanted to talk to you about. Let's talk about Rainshadow Road, which is the second book in the Friday Harbor series. I was reading this with Whitney of Tibora's Den. We really enjoyed this book. We have Sam, who is the second brother, and he is finding love with a woman who does glass works. She's an artist, and they wind up falling for each other after she is injured, and he has to help take care of her. This book contained magical realism. There are things that she and he both are able to do that really shouldn't be able to be done in real life, which were really interesting. And I liked watching them fall in love with one another. Some of the elements were a bit contrived, which is why I didn't give it a 5 stars. It's like, no one else can help her aside from you. You're the one who has to help her shower, really? But I mean, obviously it made for more interesting scenes, but still, I was like, really? I loved the end. He helped empower her, and that meant putting himself in their relationship second, which I thought was awesome. So I really liked seeing a selfless guy in a contemporary romance. That was really nice. Okay, now I need to talk about my first 4.5 star. This is a contemporary romance that has some magical realism in it. Actually, a ghost. Let's just start there. This is called Dream Lake by Lisa Kleypas. It's book 3 in the Friday Harbor series. And it follows Alex. He is the hard-bitten, hard-hearted brother of the Nolan family. He's an alcoholic. He's suffering from addiction. He is one of the meanest heroes I think I've ever read. But he uses his meanness as a device to keep people away from himself. Now, he thinks it's because he's trying to protect them. In fact, specifically Zoe, who is our heroine. She is the sweetest girl in the world, and she begins to fall for Alex against her better judgment. He tries to scare her away numerous times, but she just recognizes that he is broken, and she can't help but try to fix him. So that's what's going on that's like real world. But in the background, we have a ghost. There's a lot of mystery surrounding this ghost, so I don't want to tell you too much in case you want to read it, because I really do think it's worth a read. It reminded me a lot of like a Nicholas Sparks book. This ghost is not sure why he's there, but then he becomes tethered to Alex. What is he there to do? And can this ghost get his happily ever after? And the answer is yes, he does. And of course, Alex and Zoe do as well. I do want to mention a couple triggers too. There is death, a car accident, dementia, but I really found this to be a great story. I cried at the end. The only reason I didn't give it a full 5 stars is because there were some critical scenes for the ghost that I wish had been put into the book, but maybe I'm just being nitpicky here. It was a really good story. Speaking of a series I powered through the last book of and then gave a 1 because I wanted to finish the entire series, here is Crystal Cove. It's the last book in the Friday Harbor series. Whitney of Tibora's Den and I were talking about this. I do not even understand why this book was included in the series. None of the Nolan family was in it except for Alex for like 5 seconds. It's a friend of one of the gals that ends up with a Nolan member. This series is about the Nolan family. And yet now we have this girl that we don't even really, like, we met her briefly in the 3rd book. And she ends up with somebody else who is, his name is Jason. He is the worst. I don't know that I've ever seen a character that was so controlling. He was a liar. He was so disrespectful to our heroine, but she has been mistreated her entire life by her mother, by her coven. Oh yeah, that's right. She's a witch. This book is heavily themed with witchcraft and covens and all of that, which I don't really mind that, but it didn't fit with the rest of the series at all. At one point, Jason actually steals from Justine, who is our heroine, and she's furious and then goes to get the thing that he stole, and then she just sort of falls into bed with him. I just didn't understand. I was so disappointed pretty much at every turn until the very end when he decides to try to sacrifice his life to save her, but the reason she's in danger is because of decisions that he made to begin with. I was really disappointed because I really enjoyed the first 3 books in the series. I do recommend the first 3 books in the series, but you could absolutely skip this one and be fine. So there you have it. Well, I hope this was a valuable resource for you. If you haven't had a chance to read a Lisa Kleypas contemporary series before, I hope this helped you decide if it was for you or not. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is you're reading, whether it's a Lisa Kleypas contemporary romance or not. Until next time, thanks so much. Take care. Bye.